So a Nigerian soldier literally told a government minister to get lost this week, and Nigerians, they loved every second of it. You have been consistently telling me in the comment section to keep on doing a weekly recap on the hottest stories in Africa and across the world. This week gave us 5 stories where people actually stood up to power. Some of these folks won, some didn't, but every single one of them changed the game. So let's start with the first story. Alright, there is this Nigerian minister named Nyesom Wike. He runs Abuja, the capital, big guy, connected. Now he is used to people basically jumping when he steps into the room, you know. So Wike shows up at this construction site one day. Big entourage, the whole deal. Now he wants the work stopped, says it's illegal or whatever. Now there is this soldier posted there, Lieutenant Kirima, a very young guy, just following his orders. Now Wike demands to get in. The soldier, he parks a truck at the entrance and blocks the whole thing. And that's when things got wild. Wike lost it and said to the soldier, "You are a fool." The soldier, totally calm, said, "I'm not a fool, sir." Then Wike lost it again and said, "By the time I graduated university, you were still in primary school." Our calm soldier goes again, "Sir, I have orders from above. Nobody enters."
I was in school, you're not in school.
Sir, you can't trust
When
me.
you keep quiet,
can't
you're a big fool.
I'm not
You are a big fool.
I'm not a fool,
You think you
sir.
can shoot anybody like that?
Sir, I'm not.
As at the time I graduated, you were in primary school.
I'm acting on orders.
Take for
You
which
can't
order?
call me a fool.
And this, you will say whether you love it here.
Sir, you can't call me a fool.
Go and put up here.
I'm
Go
an
and put
officer.
up
I'm not a fool, sir. I'm an officer.
Bro, Nigerians sided with the soldier immediately, like overwhelmingly, and here is why Wike's got history. Now, this same guy Wike had consistently played political godfather in Nigeria. He had even once removed a sitting governor, and several times he has used soldiers to push his own political opponents around. So when regular people saw this soldier refuse to back down, they saw themselves in him. Everyone who has heard that "do you know who I am" line, this guy was doing his job, but man, he became something bigger. Now here is where it gets juicy though. It turns out, and this is allegedly, reporters dug up that Wike himself has been grabbing land from military officers, giving it to his friends, including the new guy who is supposed to run fair elections in Nigeria. Are we trying to win an election before the election? The irony is so thick you can even feel it. But real talk, what happens to the soldier now? Because people like Wike don't forget easily. The former army chief already came out defending the soldier, said Wike's behavior undermines the commander-in-chief. Translation? Oh, this is far from over. Now, that's Nigeria. Now let's go to Venezuela, though it concerns Africa, Russia, and the United States of America. Of course, it also concerns Trump. October 27th, Russian military cargo plane lands in Caracas. It's an Ilyushin I-176, and get this, it used to belong to Wagner PMC. Yes, Wagner, those Russian mercenaries who have been all over Africa, Syria, now they are in Venezuela. So here's what happened. President Maduro literally went on TV asking Russia, China, and Iran for military help. Why? The US has been building up forces in the Caribbean, basically parking right outside his door. Now Russia and Venezuela did sign this treaty, but and this matters, there is no mutual defense clause in it. So basically, if someone attacks Venezuela, Russia can decide or not to help. They are not locked in like they are in Belarus. But the US is still nervous, and honestly, I get why. Venezuela has been buying real hardware from Russia and China, advanced weapons, air defense systems, the kind of stuff that makes any military operation really expensive and much more complicated. Trump used to say peace through strength, right? Well, Maduro apparently took notes. Look, this goes way beyond just Venezuela though. What we are seeing is China, Russia and Iran basically exporting their whole security playbook to countries that need protection from the West. We are talking weapons but also surveillance tech, internet censorship tools, riot control equipment. The whole package. They are building something parallel, something that doesn't require Washington's permission. And that plane landing in Caracas, that's a message. We are here, we are not playing, and we are definitely not leaving. And what makes this so curious is that when the plane left Russia, it actually avoided European space, passing through North Africa and coming right down to West Africa, then going straight to Venezuela. Now, some analysts will tell you Wagner's presence is mostly symbolic, that Russia won't really defend Venezuela if things go hot. Maybe they are right, but you know what? Symbols matter, especially when those symbols come with anti-aircraft missiles. Now, the US is watching all of these very closely because if they can't do anything in Venezuela, their own backyard, then where does exactly American influence actually reach anymore? Is Maduro brilliant? Desperate? Honestly, probably both. Now, let's leave Venezuela alone. Let's leave South America and move to East Africa, where we just watched democracy die in real time. October 29th, Tanzania holds an election. President Samia Suluhu Hassan wins with 97% of the vote. 97. Wow. If you win an election by 97%, why should you carry out your inauguration in a military camp for maximum security? If people really love you, if 97% of a country really love you, you shouldn't even need bodyguards, I guess. Like, if you know anything about how re-elections work, that number is absurd. Even the most popular leaders don't pull those numbers. That's dictator territory. Now, here is what really went down. Opposition leaders got thrown in jail or kicked off the ballot before the election even started. People protested, governments cracked down hard, and then this is the part that really gets me. They shut the internet down. Complete blackout. No Facebook, no WhatsApp, no YouTube. No way for people to tell the world what was really happening to them. The real excuse? The government said they were stopping organized crime. But we all know what this really is. When you cut the internet during an election, you are trying to hide something. When people can't film what the police are doing, can't share videos of ballot box being stuffed, can't organize, that's when the silence becomes dangerous. Now, reports came out showing that over 800 people were unalived due to election tension. The government denies it, obviously, but even the African Union and the Southern African community came out and said this election didn't meet democratic standards. Think about that for a second. When Zimbabwe says your election is concerning, you have really crossed the line. So Kenya's president came up with a brilliant idea. Brilliant. He decided to congratulate this president, this Tanzanian president who won by 97%. He said, on behalf of all Kenyans, I congratulate you. And Kenyans, you know, Kenyans don't joke, they went off on him. We started seeing comments on social media like, this is the president's personal opinion, not the opinion of the Kenyan people. But the comments that really hit was, I knew a butcher wouldn't hesitate to congratulate another butcher. Now, here is what really matters about this. Kenya has something Tanzania doesn't right now. A culture where people will actually stand up. Gen Z in Kenya takes to the streets. They challenge their president to the face. They are not afraid. Meanwhile, Tanzania, beautiful country, amazing people, is sliding into something dark, and its citizens are the ones paying for it. So when I read these stories, I ask myself, What was really the point fighting for democracy if our leaders today act like colonizers we kicked out decades ago? Now, speaking of leaders who can't let things go, let's move to Zambia. Edgar Lungu, former president of Zambia, he dies in South Africa while getting medical treatment. And his family, they refuse to bring his body home. Now, if you're thinking of logistics, it's far from that. If you're thinking about cost, nada, it's not that either. It's because they don't want the current leader, Hichilema, to come near the corpse of the former president. Now, this is hatred that goes beyond the grave. Now, these two men go way back April 2017. Now, both their motorcades were heading to the same traditional ceremony. Now, remember, Hichilema was not yet president. He is now the president. But at that time, it was Lungu, the other convoy. He was the one that was president. Now, Hichilema was still an opposition party. Hichilema's convoy doesn't move aside for the presidential motorcade. 2 days later, police raid Hichilema's house at 2 a.m., drag him out, charge him with treason. And treason in Zambia might mean unalive penalty. So Hichilema spent months in jail. And during this time, the whole international community lost it. Human rights group, foreign governments, everybody condemning Zambia. Now eventually, the Zambian government dropped charges. But it was really late. The damage was done. These two men would never forgive each other. Now, fast forward to 2021. Hichilema wins presidency. The tables turn. And according to Lungu's family, Hichilema made his life miserable. They said Hichilema made it difficult for Lungu to travel abroad for medical treatment, put up roadblocks every time he needed help. And now Lungu is no more alive. He passed out in South Africa because even as a head of state, he couldn't get proper treatment in his own country. You want to know what really gets me about this? Why did he really have to leave Zambia for healthcare? Because like many other African leaders, when Lungu was in power, he never actually built the hospitals he promised. They campaign for healthcare for everyone, then they get elected. Forget about the soldiers, the widows, the sick people, everybody. They build hospitals for photo ops, not for actual patients. So when they get sick, London, Dubai, Johannesburg, anywhere but the country they were supposed to be serving. And Lungu's family is so bitter about all this that they don't want Hichilema at the funeral. A South African court had to force them to bring the body back to Zambia. His sister was crying when she heard the court's decision. Now, this whole mess is African leadership in a nutshell. Personal vendettas, infrastructure that's falling apart, power struggles that outlive the people involved in them. But you know what? Sometimes justice actually shows up. November 12, courtroom in Libreville, a special criminal court hands down a verdict that honestly, a few years ago, nobody would have believed possible. Sylvia Bongo Odimba, that's the former First Lady, and her son Nureddin, 20 years in prison each of them. Embezzlement, money laundering, the whole package. The fine, 1.8 billion euros. Oh, it all happened while they were even out of the country. They are in London right now. The Bongo family ran Gabon for 55 years, father and son, like it was a family business. And they basically treated the national treasury like it was their personal checking accounts. Now, 2018, President Ali Bongo has this major stroke. Really bad, can't really function anymore. According to prospectus, Sylvia and Nureddin kicked into overdrive. Shell companies, offshore accounts, money disappearing left and right. Private jets, properties over Europe, designer, everything. Meanwhile, regular people in Gabon are struggling to get by. Then August 2023 happens. Military coup General Brice Oligema takes over, and he's out here positioning himself as this anti-corruption warrior. Now look, is he really about fighting corruption? Or is this just him cleaning house and getting rid of political enemies? Probably a bit of both if we are being honest. But here is what I will say. For the first time in decades, people at the top are actually facing consequences for what they did. The Bongos are saying the trial is political, that they were tortured, that the court's not independent. And you know, some of that may be true. Political trials get messy. But the evidence, the lifestyle they were living, the timing of all of that money moving around right after the president couldn't function, come on. For once, somebody's actually being held accountable. This could mean something bigger. Equatorial Guinea, Congo-Brazzaville, Cameroon, all these countries with the same kind of ruling families, the same kind of corruption, they are all watching this. If the Bongos can actually fall, maybe it's possible somewhere else too. Is this really the start of something new? Or is this just some unusual case that won't be repeated? I guess we will find out. Now, 5 different countries, 5 totally different situations. But there is one thing running through all of them. Somebody said no. A soldier told a corrupt minister no. Venezuela told the US no. Tanzanians tried to say no to a rigged election. Zambian leaders said no to any kind of peace even after death. And a court in Gabon said no to letting corruption slide. Some of these people won what they were fighting for. Some didn't. But every single one of them challenged the people who had power over them. Here is something you need to understand about power. It's not actually strong as it pretends to be. It's just really, really good at making you believe it is. Fear, intimidation, keeping people quiet. But the moment one person stands up, when one soldier won't move, when one country arms itself and says, "Not today," when one generation hits the street, when one court finally says enough, that whole illusion starts to crack, and once it cracks, you can't put it back together. Africa doesn't need more aid money. It doesn't need more loans from the World Bank. It doesn't need more consultants flying in from Europe telling people what to do. Africa needs more people who are willing to say no, more soldiers who won't back down, more citizens who refuse to be silenced, more courts that actually do their job. The map is being redrawn right now. The old way of doing things, it's breaking down. So the question isn't whether change is coming. The question is, who holds the pen? Which of these stories hit you hardest? Let me know in the comments. And if you're not subscribed yet, what are you waiting for? It costs you nothing. We are doing this every week. Real analysis, no BS. My name is Nyesom Wike. You're watching Africa Today, and this is the Strategic Lens. See you in my next one. Bye.